Anyway, we are in the middle of this holiday called Pesach, as we mentioned many times. We mentioned also this, I think, either it was 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, about this very specific serpentine aspect of this repetitive festival, and also the month that is called Nisan. That is, its name is built up from three different serpent aspects. And the beautiful thing is that there is no coincidence, but as we say it, that next week, I mean, forthcoming Saturday, forthcoming Shabbat, is exactly this reading from the Torah where the middle of the Torah appears according to the letter numbers, letter count. And this is this enlarged letter Vav, which looks like Nun, and version of the Nun, which is the serpent, which appears in the word Gachon, like on your belly you shall crawl in what is in Genesis, in Bereshit. So Gachon is also at belly, like lower part of the front lower part of the body of the crawling species, and in this case serpent. It's exactly in the middle of the Torah, which many rabbis noticed this is conspicuous, but we had to help them a little bit with with our thinking, what does it mean and where it leads. And I find it really fascinating that there are no coincidences about our meeting. Okay, without further ado, today is the sixth meeting. I cannot just believe that we already are so advanced. Just to give a little bit update, I decided to take one idea from the theories going beyond, to focus on the theories going beyond a little bit, the last one, a little bit more again to the serpent and prophecy. I mean, all those theories going beyond will be focused on the consciousness and actually altered state of mind connected to the serpent and so on and so forth, and the collective consciousness. So one topic that was that I thought that to present it back then, not back then, in 2 weeks. I thought that I will move it to our session, because it's actually, yeah, also connected. It's really took me some time to how to divide this whole topic. So there are many things that are cross references to each other. However, the next one in 1 week, wow, this will be a lot of slides, because I will just provide you a lot of different pictures from different cultures. I think I will make around 100 slides, because it will be this presentation of the graphic forms, and based on what we already tried to discuss in hermeneutical mode as an interpretation of the theme in the Sod ha-Nachash of Rav Gikatilla, being all the time in the background, actually looking through those lenses, through different perspective at the artifacts of different cultures, and thousands, if not millions. Okay, maybe I exaggerate, but 500,000 years, I would say, yeah, there is at least this kind of perspective. But let's keep it to lower value, thousands of years, and throughout geographies, people are very much focused about the serpent and serpent symbolism, and it is meaningful one. So one nice thing, I actually also show you my own pictures from the Giza Museum in Egypt that I visited actually last year. I was there for work, and at the same time the museum, which was officially open this year, I visited it last year. It was half open, but actually very interesting collections were provided there, and I made a lot of cataloging, so you would have also something as far as Egypt is concerned from the first hand. But there are plenty of cultures, and my pain is that I would have to negatively select a lot of them outside. But yeah. So this is what is coming for the next two meetings, and the theory is going beyond. We also have some sort of encapsulation, and I think I will ask also Zev, if you would like to. We can also have this kind of cross-check discussion session, maybe a ninth one, additional one, if there is such a need. And there is no such need, maybe also. So, serpent as primordial soul, the concept is connected to what we had in the third meeting about this concept of Goldberg and Bach, about life and communication through through biology, and the possibility of communicating because of the uh, because of the structure of the advanced organisms that actually can be explained and is being in the top-notch latest scientific pursuits as a communication not only happening via in advanced organisms via neuronal traits, but also via all our cellular profile. All our cells in our bodies, in advanced organisms, they communicate with not only with themselves in very various different modes, but also with other organisms, and also the organic matter that is in the air and in all around us. It's actually performing very slow but still observable communication. So we had those kind of thinking about whether it is just not a one big organism. So this is something that we didn't focus so much last time. It was hinted at, but today we'll be speaking about those ideas. Um, I am a huge fan of Stanisław Lem, and I just can only recommend all of his books. There are many people say that uh, there are many Lems. I mean, there are different profiles. He can be both humorous, very philosophical, very visionary. He is classified as a science fiction, but I think this is really wrongdoing. He should have received Nobel Prize, in my opinion, because he was something bigger than that. He just used this genre to transfer some ideas, and I don't know if you are aware, Lem is just behind as a main inspirer to such a people like um, Christopher Nolan, for sure. Like Interstellar was based on one of the novel of Lem, not directly, but for example, many AI developers, they just refer to them as an inspirer, and so on and so forth. And because he was Jewish, for me, it was also, although from a secularized family, for me, it was fascinating that uh, only those people who are literate into the Jewish literature can read out from Lem the Jewish traits. He was extremely knowledgeable and literate person, and and just erudite, and only few analyses were till now may be made about the Jewish sources there. But again, it depends what kind of a book analyst or researcher reads in order to see in Lem what he sees. So today we'll just only focus on one of his novel. If you want to share, if you read this book, you can give me a hands up. But if you haven't, I just recommend it. There are at least two ekranizations about it. One by Tarkovsky, and second one was, or even more, was quite recent with George Clooney starring. It's actually fascinating how you could actually make a movie out of the Solaris. So I rather recommend reading the book, and it will be groundbreaking if you haven't still yet. So I really believe that this is something of a big time literature and not a waste of time. Um, so idea of one organism. What if this whole planet is one organism? At least this one planet, because there are also extrapolations. What if there is a consciousness uh, steering beyond systems of a planetary and those voids that are in between possible life forms. It's as big or as vast, which is unimaginable to us as whole universe. This is Josha Bach, but I prefer to focus on something that is real. And we saw also pictures from Artemis 2 mission. They made another nice, beautiful picture of the planet uh, from the perspective of the moon in the full moon. And at least I believe there is this kind of concept that can be connected to our topic of serpent as a life or steerer or supporter of life towards those concepts that are appearing in the theories of biology or any kind of other philosophical outputs in the last century, in the previous century, in this century, regarding planetary systems of life that we observe and analyze. So the concept that I propose here, and this is also behind, this is leitmotif, the main theme about all my interpretation of the theme in Jewish lore, and especially in the Sod ha-Nachash of Rabbi Gikatilla and Zoharic literature, is that we can perceive life as something that is alive only through the symbol of serpent, and all other organisms that are here, that you, me, other organisms that we are surrounded with, we are just ephemerics, like ephemerical organisms that appear and have some specific lifespan and then disappear. And it makes a lot of tragedy for conscious organisms, apparently, the fear of death and concept of pain, suffering, and problems with sexuality here and there. But if we look at it from the different perspective, this is just a story within a bigger body. Uh, Nothing to worry, because maybe we are really not alive. This is just ephemerical appearance of the bigger organism that is behind. So this is naturally segueing us towards the Gaia theory of James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis. I brought them; they are not the only one. And this Gaia theory is as ancient also as you can find those hints also in ancient Greece, in my opinion. The whole concept of Ouroboros is also related to this, and you have it in plenty of mythologies. We just cannot mention all of them, but I remember from my course with Professor Szyjewski and other professors at the Studies of Religion department in Krakow, of ethnology of religions, that there are plenty of data supporting this idea that the self-consciousness, that there is ecosystemic communication across all Earth, is being hypothesized or acknowledged by faith or by conviction within the religious systems all across the globe. You can just find it almost everywhere. So, at the end, today I would like to also speak about something that is called dracunculiasis. If you know what is this, you can also share, but if you don't know what it is, you will know. How is it actually connected to the rod of Asclepius and Nehushtan symbols? So Nehushtan, we spoke about it, I guess, 2 weeks ago, about the serpent, copper serpent on a pole. And of course, there's a lot of this research connecting it to the rod of Asclepius, the symbol of health. You can see it on every pharmacy, or the symbol of Hygeia with this cup, depending which country you are. But apotheke, all the pharmacies, and also symbol of healing and doctors and curing. This is something that is usually being symbol. There is a reference to the symbol of rod of Asclepius. I will try to just show my own hypothesis, which is going beyond other hypotheses that just didn't went forward. Why is it how and why is it connected to the our hypothesis of the life as a one organism represented by serpent? Okay, so this is our introduction. So the theme, only serpent lives. So let's refer it back to what we already had about our concept of Gan Eden as a protectorate. And I just wanted to comment in this way. All living forms are the exiled children of this Havachivia, of this major component of the primordial cell, of the first cell, first organism, whatever it was, whoever created it, why it happened, maybe it self-emerged. However, this organism is being metaphorized in the Hebrew lore as the one a little bit female, no, not a little bit, in a major aspect, female figure that is giving the life giver, and also at the same time the serpent, somewhat connected to her, to this aspect of life. And once the exile started, it started also by giving Hava the name Hava, Hivya, all this interruption or the entry of the serpent into the Gan Eden, and changing the name from Isha, from the female aspect of Adam Kadmon, to Hava, is kind of connected with this intrusion of the serpent. Another, let's say, not axiom but assumption in this theme of only serpent lives is that all living forms are made alive via souls, and here we define them by, as we remember from the first session, by Josha Bach idea that of course every living organism from the level of a one cellular one cell organism, be it prokaryote or eukaryote, doesn't matter, being even virus. Although virus, there's a doubt if it's a semi-living form or just ephemeric, further ephemeric form. Anyway, it has some sort of self-organizing software agent. This are the words of Bach. And then in one of those conversations with different interlocutors, he was asked, "Okay, how you defined software? You are from computer sciences, maybe you just have it intuitively." And he said it's something that is, it's agent that is visible, or it's representational, which means that it represents something that over it's what it's controlling, some life form, and it's also invariant in a way that you can see that the agency, the aspects of behavior or any kind of agency is the best word. They're having some structure, some sort of pattern, and this is how he describes the word software. It's also applicable to the computer science to some extent, of course, with some modifiers. But this is something that I am truly convinced when I see my plants, for example, or a cat, or my kids, or even a smaller organism. I can see that there is something behind just the collection of the cells. And it's not instinct, it's not genome only information, there is something bigger than that. So, Josha Bach says primordial cell never died. I will just put in a moment his very short 30-second excerpt from one of his conversations, because I want to share with you his enthusiasm. He's brilliant person, he's 51, but for me this person is like he speaks and behaves like a youngster, like a 18-year-old motivated person. Why? Because being so much dedicated to his mission, to what he does. And for my side, I also ask about the question of scale, like only serpent lives. And as we know from the so-called theological uh, terminology, but also not theological, but also philosophical, and let's say it's a language from studies of religions that can be also at its poorest being applied. But the concept of transcendence and immanence. So it's rather metaphysical vocabulary. So I can accept that because metaphysics is indispensable, is important. Theology, well, okay, you know my point already. But metaphysics is something extremely important. I can speak about what theology calls God. I can speak about it freely, and I have complete understanding from my side through the metaphysical lenses. And I believe that we can really speak about those topics in a lucid way and not necessarily blurring it. So, immanent, I would say, Serpent is being present as a life agent, as a nefesh, as a Nachash Nefesh, is present even in the one cell organism, and then we can expand this concept to maybe this is also it's expanding also towards whole universe, and whole universe. Well, we can then ask our question: where is the border? It's not visible to us yet, but we can hypothesize about it. Again, I just believe that for the sake of analysis of symbols, analysis of the all the time cross-checking with the text that we are having in our background as a starting point of analysis. I believe it's better to speak about the planetary, let's say, borders. However, I don't exclude this kind of concept of something bigger. And also Josha Bach likes to, with Michael Levin, they like to hypothesize what if it's bigger. But definitely the scale is there about the first of all the nefesh, the soul, the software, and connected to that consciousness and possibility of communicating, and from one cell level to the most complicated organism, let's say, which I would assume it would be the most complicated organism on this planet is the planet itself. I mean, all the biosphere, which would be this serpent what we are speaking about. And also, I like to pose the question again and again because I'm not sure. I will probably leave it as a hypothesis. Is in Sod ha-Nachash serpent described as a life supporter or the life itself? Because there are different vocabularies here. If there is something, if also Kabbalistic lore treats and tries to understand the life as something bigger than a figure of a serpent, or there are several serpents serving as different figures. And then we would say that one of them is being the symbol of life itself, and another one is life supporter. I think the last opportunity, the last solution is the best to actually to apply. Okay, so a little bit about the Gaia theory. Uh, this is actually very interesting topic because those guys, James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis, they were cooperating at the beginning, and then actually they started to clash, and they started to discuss the topic different way around. They both stem from the sciences of biology and very persistent, very talented researchers. They started to hypothesize around those key aspects of Gaia theory. I just took it from the abbreviation from more or less from internet. Although I am convinced and I am aware about the content of those books and also several articles. Also, children of Lynn Margulis, they were further developing those narratives. From one marriage, this is actually peculiar. Lynn Margulis was married to Carl Sagan, the one who was responsible, for example, for the concept of Odyssey 2001. Of Stanley Kubrick and so on and so forth, and many other futurologistic ideas. So it's not a surprise that those kind of brave ideas try to look as at the planet as a whole organism is also visible in his and his followers' output. What they were trying to focus on, and I will just tell you what is my position. I am much more towards James Lovelock than Lynn Margulis. I will just tell you why in a shortly, but I just want to a little bit explain what is this topic about. This Gaia hypothesis suggests that living organisms and their inorganic surroundings they co-evolve to maintain optimal habitable conditions. This is a little bit blurry for our concept because we are talking about life, and life is a virtual phenomenon. Like consciousness of life, maybe to be more precise, is a virtual phenomenon. So it exists as if it's not the physical reality. And as we know about physical reality, we cannot say anything because we have no idea how the physical world exists because all of we have is just the interaction with the physical world. There is some synergy, But our brains produce the colors, the acoustics, because of the oscillators in our head, and so on and so forth. And about physical world, we can say nothing. We can just measure it. We can use physics. We can use mathematics, but we don't know how it looks like. And here I am rather, but we know that we are in, as a life forms, we are in some sort of synergy with the physical world. So they claim that there is some sort of convolution, coevolution between the life and the inorganic surrounding. Granted, but this is not as much important for our topic. The point is, can we treat, because of those key aspects like self-regulation, homeostasis, coevolution of life and environment, microbial influence, and feedback loops, can we actually see from those dynamics of different uh, dynamics of different characteristics, can we take from this conclusion, can we have a conclusion that it's all one big organism? This is inspiration for me. This is not something that I would just completely follow, especially what Lynn Margulis claims in this microbial influence. She emphasized that the role of the microbes in the system, defining Gaia not as a literal organism, but as an emergent property of interactions among organisms. And she also claimed that she's against this concept of one organism by Lovelock in a literal form, in a literal sense, because she claims that non-organism is known for eating and consuming back his own waste, which I would like to challenge, because exactly in the Jewish sources we have very interesting observation about it. And although it's of course metaphor or language of symbolism, it's still applicable to us to understand and challenge this claim by Lynn Margulis, and actually propose more this concept towards which James Lovelock drifted to. And also about feedback loops is very interesting, because uh, I decided not to speak during our meetings about this whole concept of contamination and purity, which is apparent in the book of Rav Gikatilla, and of course in all the Kabbalistic lore, this notion of tuma, contamination, and tahor, purity, not only in ritual sense, but it's also in the sense of why there is evil in life and why there is good in life, all those axiologies, and so on and so forth. So here, when we speak about feedback loops of Gaia, I see it as this kind of struggle between two aspects of this life reality. That if there is a overabundance of one factor, the other one will just counteract via push towards homeostasis. Uh, Against. So they, of course, focus on this is not something that is so much interesting to us right now. It's just a concept that is interesting to us. But the analogy between those characteristics of feedback loops and negative feedback loops to the concept of, if there is more contamination, there is less purity, and vice versa. I find it quite interesting, but this is just analogy. I don't identify one with another. And again, I stress that this is the theory for the biologists, so they have different accentuation on different things, but the concept of Lovelock's, especially definition, is there. Okay, let's have a Josha Bach and hear him for a moment how he speaks actually. Just a second. How he speaks about our topic.
Maybe it's only me, but I cannot hear the audio. I can see the video, but
You don't hear it?
no. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
my. Uh, Well, I sent it to you in email, all right? It will be. I'm so sorry. I thought that you will get it from the recording. You don't hear. You don't hear. Definitely. Okay, sorry. It's only 30 seconds. Okay, so he is enthusiastically saying about the division of the cell and from the first one, and actually that we are all continuation of the first one. This heritage of the first cell is there. I'm sorry. I was really sure that it will be fine, but you have it on an email, so just check it out. And I also strongly again and again. Uh, I just advise you to be exposed to him a bit or more, depending on your interest, even as a background podcast. Just hearing it. Most of the his lectures I haven't seen. Studying also his presentation, I was just repeatedly while driving a car. I was just hearing to them, and I almost memorized most of them. And that's really beneficial. He has something to say, and he says it not in the para scientific way, para scholar way. He has arguments, and the criticism around him is actually very low because people attentively hear what he wants to say. Of course, there is a criticism, but you cannot really undermine his logic about what he's proposing. And at the same time, he's also very advanced developer by himself in an AI community. So as long as he's doing also his main job, I think everyone accepts his uh, positive for metaphysics. Okay, a little bit about Lynn Margulis and the endosymbiosis theory, because this is important for us. Apart from this concept of Gaia theory, Lynn Margulis was also responsible for this endosymbiosis theory, which probably you already had it in school. I had it in school. But she was actually pushing several years to have it published because people were skeptical about it. So the whole concept here, what is important for us, is the assumption what Lynn Margulis was trying to prove. It's already proven experimentally, but she was proving in theory that eukaryotes, like we are, with the core, with the specified core, with also mitochondrium and other elements of our cells. They actually evolved or happened because of the intrusion of someone of the uh, external element, being this prokaryotic organism like some basic bacteria or some virus. I mean, I specifically divide between prokaryotic organism and virus. I don't say that they're the same. And I'm just saying what is interesting for our topic with this metaphor of Gan Eden and serpent from the outside entering Gan Eden is most probably something that can be uh, within the framework that we already follow. It can be accepted as an analogy between this idea of endosymbiosis. So, as I also already mentioned here, Lynn Margulis argued that mitochondria and chloroplasts, let's focus on mitochondria, but more or less it's all about the process, the dynamics of the process itself, which is the same. They were free living bacteria and engulfed by the larger host cells or intruding there, who knows? And then they became a dependent inside organelles, like parts of the organism of this cell organism. But I like to transfer it to our idea. As we know, as I already mentioned, Hava Hivya, she transformed into mitochondrium after the contact with the external serpent, or she was introduced because she was this part of the serpent that was injected into the cell and also caused all the division, which as we were talking about already for a couple of meetings, is responsible for the whole division within the cell. So this is how I connect the dots. If it's too fast or not visible, please raise hand. I see it like this, that we earlier we spoke about this internal serpent, that there is this Hava Hivya inside, and also Nachash as the Uroboros surrounding, being metaphorized as the wall or the supporter of life, the walls of the Gan Eden. But before that, before the fall of that, before intrusion of the serpent, Adam Kadmon, the primordial man within the cell, the content of the cell, is being called Ish and Isha, the male and the female, which is very nice because they are almost similar words, and they also have a pun inside, which I will speak about soon. It's on the lower part of the slide. So before that, before the chapter 3 of Genesis, there is no Hava. There is no any mention about any Hava, and the serpent also appears only in the third chapter. Before that, there is Ish and Isha, the female and male aspect of the man, and the man is encompassing all life. He is actually life itself in this immortal mode, in the protectorate of the delicate life, Gan Eden, as we translate it. So, what I was actually thinking about it, that Havachivya appears as a mitochondrium in our analogy toward, for example, to the Lynn Margulis theory, because mitochondrium is something that is actually responsible for the energetical aspect of the. I'm very simplifying, but just to put it as simple and as correct as possible. Mitochondrium is responsible for the energy of the and metabolism of the cell, but it requires feeding from the outside. It means that if there is a feeding from the outside, there is an entropy already being created, like the waste. There something that there is this something to has to be disposed, and usually the entropy is where there is more waste than the energy or benefit from the growth of the cell itself. There is negentropy and entropy. It's not only physical terminology, but also used in the biological sciences. So, in and this what caused later the whole process of division, and by division of cells means that the cells have to compete. At some point, they are start to killing for food. There is one organism being killed, and the nutrition organic matter is being absorbed for to another organism, and so on and so forth. And it's just already, as we see, the first next chapters in the Torah speak about the first killing. Cain kills Abel. We are not going to refer right now what does it mean in the Kabbalistic terms. There are plenty of explanations about it, but the point is, the very division means that there will be death and there will be killing and there will be some sort of cruelty within the nature. And I wanted to also, again, from different angle, as you can see, I am repeatedly coming back to the topic. Within the Gan Eden, before the fall, before the entry of the serpent, there was this two-sided, as I said, internal compound of Adam Kadmon, this Ish and Isha, and in Kabbalistic texts, also in one text that is being ascribed to Rav Moshe ben Nachman, commonly known as Nachmanides, but most probably it's not proven. It's either someone from the circle of Rav Gikatilla or maybe Gikatilla himself. It's called Igeret HaKodesh. I didn't mention it here, but it's actually a treatise about how to make love a mystical way between man and woman. It's actually a text from the late 13th, beginning of 14th century. Amazing text. It's being printed. It speaks about the holiness of couple, but also about the very sexual act. And it's being said there that what does it mean female and male? When female and male are aroused, there is a fire of desire to connect together, and then extraction from the letters that belong to the Yudke Vavke, to the creator of life, uh, ultimate creator of life. They just go away and hover above the female and male, which become one fire. Uh, and we can see the shown in this Hebrew line when I shown you with different colors where are these letters appearing, and when we change the order, how is this logic being explained. So this text, what I mentioned off-topically right now as a digression, is referring to a different to sexuality among others, to just a relationship between female and male. But in our context, it means that the supporter of this self-propelling organism was actually Yudke, part of Yudke Vavke, of this tetragram of the creator of life, and it was complementary and synergetic and energized from outside, and it didn't need any kind of internal feeding from other organisms. However, after the split happened, there was Nachash and Hava-Hivya, this mitochondrium introduced, and there is this need for constant feeding loop, being eaten and predating after others to find the food, like devouring own's tail, the symbol of Ouroboros, again explained in different mode. And Hava-Hivya, this serpent, this mitochondrial element, is appearing actually in every eukaryotic living organism, so it's actually majority of life on this planet. And Nachash is this totality of life, so there is this immanence aspect again, and this transcendent aspect, again borrowing the terminology from theology or studies of religions, or also metaphysics. And the nefashot, the souls, they are elements of the whole bios. So why is it said, actually, the another topic that is important for us here, why is it said that Serpent eats dust of the earth? Because he's being cursed. Hashem curses the serpent, stating, on your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I mean, all the days of your life as a serpent, if serpent is being cursed that he is going to die? No, most probably it's just stated about all the days of your life. We will also have later today a hint that actually, even in Prophet Yeshayahu, it's being hinted at that serpent is actually even going to be living as a living meta-organism, I would like to say, even at the time of the end, even at the time of coming, of whatever that means, coming of Mashiach, it will be again still continuing to exist. But this is just a hint for the next slides. So Lynn Margulis, as I mentioned, she claims that no organism eats its own waste, and therefore she didn't like the metaphor of Earth as a single organism. And this is her argument. Yeah, but I challenge it, because serpent as a totality of organism, it's actually dust of the dead organic mother. There is a continuity after our death, after organisms die. There is this decomposition, but the organic matter is being taken from this bigger organism that was already gone. The software of it, the soul of it, just moved away and discontinued, and then the organism is serving as a food for the next nutrition processes. Well, we do it every day with our meals, be that vegetarian or not vegetarian. This is eating living organisms, majorly speaking, or shortly after they are dead. But still, the organic matter is applicable for us as a nutrition. And what is being also hinted in Torah, we'll see it in the next slide. For serpent, everything tastes like dust. And I claim that because it is eventually his own body, he's eating himself repeatedly and repeatedly, and only ephemeric organisms like us appearing here after the birth and coming to the end of our mission as a life organism with our death, we can experience the taste because we are tasting actually other organisms. So this metaphor that serpent eat dust and everything tastes like dust is because he is totality of all those organisms, and there is no difference here. And what is also here, what I already hinted from Yeshayahu, from Isaiah, the wolf and the lamb, all this figure of the wolf and the lamb will pasture together, will graze together. Yes, the lion shall eat the straw like the ox. There will be some change according to this vision of this prophet in the change in the nature. But people who are interpreting this verse, they tend to forget about the statement, and dust shall be the serpent's food. Even more so, it's still the reality right now, but after that the dust of the earth will be still food of the serpent, not as a curse. It's going to be a continuation of his mission as a totality of life. I think there is a hint about that here. So this is definitely a must information to share. Serpent as a and dust in Talmud and Midrash. So there is a tract at Yoma that there is this curse from so-called curse from Yeshayahu who is being discussed, that at the end of the days, and the dust shall be still serpent's food. So this is rabbinical discussion, so it's always fascinating. Also, a little bit of sarcasm, irony here. So they also refer to the very minute things that are not so much important for us, like halachic right now, halachic discourse about the law. If serpent is eating kosher food, so and so on and so forth. But there is this discussion between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, and they say, yeah, interpreting it in a primitive form, yes, one can say, but symbolic nature for sure. The view number one is that the serpent eats all the things in the world. Doesn't matter what is all the different tastes, they will taste for him as a dust. And if the serpent eats all the different foods of the world, his mind is unsettled until it also eats some dust. So he has to eat some dust that is, of course, mediocre taste anyway. Of course, this is just a characteristic from Gemara. What is important for us is that in Midrash Rabbah, there is this juxtaposition between another type of food, let's say miraculous food or miraculous way of eating, that that is mentioned as a manna, man, the one that actually looked the same. It had the same consistency all the time, like something like a cookie dough or some sort of honey cake, but it tastes according to the wish of the person who was eating it. So it could taste like anything else, and it could be delicacy of any kind. So this is the juxtaposition as an opposition to this concept that serpent is eating anything, but it all tastes like a dust. And I think this is exactly the hint towards what we are saying. Not to mention also the fact that we also discussed in a meeting related to serpent forms within the human body, that our digestion trait from eating till to ejection of it by the urine or the concrete, the solid waste, it is like a big serpent within our body. We through us goes the biological organic matter. We take the nutritions, but we also remove the waste from our body through both urine or the solids. So there is the serpent also working its magic within our body. That's the digression. But I think you, Paula was there, but you, Francesco, you wasn't there when we spoke about kikayon. I stressed this kikayon, this specific plant that Yona, Prophet Yona, which is also serpentine figure, was being enjoying so much. But there is the statement is about it in a specific Hebrew wording, vayamin, that arranged, that Hashem Yudke arranged or provide a dose, as I like to say, because in manot, for example, in modern Hebrew means servings, like a dish. So there is this culinary aspect of this terminology, and man is something like there is this dosage, yes, like dosage of food being given to every ephemerical organism. And Kikayon was serving us also to discuss the topic of prophecy related to the serpent. So those things are really getting connected, but we have to be precise how we connect those things according to the um, points that really solid in a solid way serve to our argument, not too far-fetched discussions. So there is this also notion of this perpetual curse that the text uh, Yeshaya, who speaks about constant miserable humiliation, where the creature is brought low. But this is not so much important for our topic. It is a lowly thing for the serpent that he doesn't have this interaction with the with other life organisms within our, so to speak, conscious world of dream world of interactions between the organism. So serpent is the totality, but he only lives and interacts through the organism that are building up his bigger meta body, so to speak. That's why the food or the nutrition, the energy has to be very indifferently tasting to him. So I don't think it's so much of humiliation. It's just referring to the serpent that on his belly he shall crawl, that this is a linearly developing life within the history. And that's it. There is nothing bad or good about it. Also, Rabbi Gikatilla stresses this. It's just serpent is currently, according to this metaphor, is in the wrong place, and it's going back to the right place again to protect again the immortal life in the future of the end of days. So, moving forward to this metaphor, I like to also think as in a way of the serpent as a primordial soul, as the totality of life as one organism. That Nachash is some sort of food chain, and as I mentioned, chain of predation and of being consumed. Life eats life in general. And the variety, there are two metaphors that are actually related also uh, to the characteristics of the serpent. I am again referring to this session when we had those tables from Professor Wiercinski and Linis Bell to show that there are many different characteristics of the serpent, and they serve as a symbolical analogies for symbolization within human consciousness. So first one is the serpent and its scales. I like this metaphor that collective organisms are those scales on the body of serpent, and they are making this pattern. They are bound together. They are removed. The shedding of the skin I didn't mention here, but I should have. I should have mentioned the shedding of the skin, like repetitive removal of the skin, indicating in symbolization that organisms are dying and being born again. But there is this concept that because of shedding of the skin, the serpent is in different mythologies, in different cultures, in different symbolizations, is being treated as an immortal one, because by shedding of the skin, he removes the generation after generation from his own collective body. And the serpent is life itself in this metaphor, but he's built up of all these enormous amounts of smaller organisms of different size, different shapes, but they build up this harmonious pattern of life. By the way, this picture is AI made. There is also even a blueprint here, but this is free royalty. But this represents nicely this idea of the scaling of the serpent and the variety of abundance of different colors and shapes and forms, etc. And there is also another metaphor, the second one I propose here in the left bottom corner, serpent made of ephemeric of organisms, and they are like beads strung on the serpent itself, and serpent is a thread. I'm fascinated for years about this image. Like serpent is the life that is still continuing without end, and it is some sort of, if not immortal, at least long living beyond the death as we know it. But on its body or the thread, there are those beads. I tried to find actually nice picture and also generated by the AI, but he couldn't understand the prompt. So I just took one of the free royalty, the idea of a beads, that all life forms are just on the thread of the serpent, and they are put forward and removed from the end when they are already a waste. They are already in attrition mode. I also provide the slide of the predation, but this is just for the illustration that this is really what is happening. We are being eaten alive all the time by different bacteria, viruses. They try to dissolve us as an organism. We have defense forces inside of our body. There are plenty of living organisms. They say even counted by not millions but trillions inside of our digestive systems. So all this statement about the huge beast and the name, her name is Legion from the Apocalypses of John. I like to refer that this is all about the metaphor of our bacteria inside in our bacterial flora, which is okay, now I would like to jump to Lem Solaris and let's check. Yes, we have 2 slides till the break. So it's exactly in the middle. I think in 10 minutes we can have a break. So having in mind all those metaphors as a continuity of life and the continuation without interruption, there is this beautiful novel by Lem called Solaris. So, in short, I will not read the content of the slide. You can just refer to yourself in the background. I just want to say it in my own words. There is this group of astronauts that they get to this planetary different foreign system. There is this planet, and this planet as a whole is one organism. It's sentient. It's very conscious, and it has amazing capabilities that it can also simulate and by some sort of telepathy enter into the minds of those humans that came as foreigners from different planet. And this organism is constantly transforming, constantly dynamically changing its appearances. It cannot be predicted. It is this element of life in such a beautiful metaphor and in such a beautiful language described by Lem. It is exactly this one cell organism within which comprise all the consciousnesses that could have emerged. If Lem never read those texts about Gan Eden and Kabbalistic texts, which I assume that he didn't, so it means that he really got by some inexplicable channel the intuitions that are there, in my opinion, in a Jewish lore, at least in Jewish lore, but not only, about the Gan Eden, the concept of the planetary organism or one cell organism that has plenty of consciousness inside. Like there is this big Nachash as a soul, as a software, as this agent, and within it there is this enormous, vast number of nefashot, nefesh, which is already divided into different organs. But what is the difference? Like in a metaphor of Gaia theory, we have this planetary collective that may or may not be a sentient conscious organism. In Solaris, Lem is actually changing a little bit this view. He already shows that there is nothing else but just this ocean, but this ocean is conscious. There is one organism, but it's conscious. But what is beautiful, the consciousnesses are multiple, they are different, they are emerging. Well, you have to read also the book, or recall the content if you remember. So this, what is being stated here, ontological autometamorphosis, this amazing dynamics of the inner life of this ocean is so beautifully described. And of course, there is a dramaturgy about this, inherent in this, in the plot of this book. that there is this dynamic relationship between the astronauts and the ocean and vice versa. And although the astronauts try to study and try to actually understand the nature of the ocean, but they gradually see that this is organism that is beyond their capabilities to grasp him. They want to study the phenomena of this organism. At the same time, they start to experience that the ocean is actually studying them because they just appeared within the ranch. They just started to be close to itself as an organism. So he or she or as an ocean, it's it's interested in the organisms that came from different planets. So and it's written. Look, it's just 80, not 80, 60 years ago, more or less. It's still actual, and I hear all the time the inspirations from different angles, inspirations from this book to different research, to different observations, not only at our topic of symbolization of the serpent as a life, but also to many other things, also including AI. So just wanted to mention it because I just couldn't not to mention it for myself. And this concept of one organism we can also transpose to the whole universe. And by transposing, I titled this slide a little bit tricky, calling it Josha Bach's question: Can we perceive all known universes conscious? And at the same time, I decided to just again go back to the slide that we had at the very first meeting of ours in different contexts, directly from our source book. So with all these different perspectives, I just highlighted that we already had exposed. I would like to again post, look at the highlighted elements of this text from this excerpt from Sod ha-Nachash, and focus on those elements that are referring to the cosmic aspect of the serpent. That this is not only the planet, but even bigger. Or even if it's a planetary one, we will see next week that the first cosmic serpent that was observed on a firmament was the Milky Way, or the cosmic serpent, the astrological, the zodiac, that is the 13th one. This is what is called Teli, and the book Formation Sefer Yetzirah speaks about it in a very focused way. But what actually Rav Gikatilla claims and says, without him, without the serpent, the life would not exist. So either he is alive or he's a supporter of life within the framework of creation. None in any world there wouldn't be sowing or growth. So sowing and growth is the dynamics of metabolism. And this metabolism, as we already saw in a couple of slides before, could have been of immortal without producing the entropy mode, where the waste, the extraction would be collected again by the yud ke, by the letters yud and he from the tetragram, and it would be immortal. But then what happened after the fall, after intrusion of the serpent, the metabolism is already producing entropy around. So the sowing or growth initially was uh, self-working perpetuum mobile, and he also Serpent gives a stimulus to motivate this development of generations. So he's bigger than just one generation. He is a meta-organism. This I read from this next sentence. And then initially he was placed outside, which also suggests that he is a being or faculty, life as a faculty of the tetragram of the Shem, of the creator of life, of the meta physical stemming from infinity factor that called God in a world of theology, but in a world of in a language of metaphysics, stemming from infinity, the source of light, the source of life, Yudke Vavke. was placed outside, the serpent was placed outside and being in constant contact with Yudke Vavke. So he was actually a servant, direct servant, when in proper place to Yudke Vavke, tetragram, to Hashem. And his mirror only clung to the wall, and his front faced outward. So this statement suggests that he was a supporter of life, not alive. But then again, we had this Hava-Hivya model and the whole notion of life after the fall. Definitely, Serpent is, in my opinion, symbol of life. And the stimulation of sowing and growth, as he acted from the outset, was impeccable. Later on, of course, it started to be all the time being paid from the depth of cycle of life and death, paid off from this. So I propose that we have a break right now, if it's fine. Maybe 5 minutes. It's okay. So we meet at 7:15, and we have 45 minutes, or even a little bit less, to just to have this Dracon Scholiasis topic, which is corroborating, in my opinion, those topics too. Okay, so 7:15. So first of all, I had really like this reworking on your subconscious things was about Gan Eden. Again, I was thinking about that Gimel is this form of the serpent as still a walking figure, because this is what Midrash says, that he was walking and then he fell into Nun Sofit. And the same about Eden. I had this morning some sort of illumination that Ein is this division to 70 symbolic people, but it also means I, the I from our eye. Delet is about the dynamics of blood, which the word dam stems from it, and also Delet as the doors of birth, which is the sphere of giving birth, and also Nun Sofit, again the life spread in the manifold organisms. So this was one thing I added as a bonus, but the second thing was exactly about the threefold serpent month Nisan. So we can have a 5 minutes about it for you. So month of Nisan is the month of living Egypt, this Misraim, this oppression state. And there is this freedom immediately happening. And there is this concept of, at the full moon of this month, which occurred 4 days ago, is a Pesach. Pesach means to jump over. It's a little bit like changing the paradigm of time. So what
And
is
I know the
hidden?
method is for this, right? For Pesa.
Yeah, exactly. And the leaving of Egypt is happening at Pesach, at the full moon, but also at Pesach starts the year before starts the whole cycle of the 10 plagues. They didn't happen shortly after. It took 1 year, and year is also symbolized in this uroboric form as a samech, as a serpent that is eating the middle letter. Yeah, this blue one, which I highlighted in blue, is the uroboric one. And there is Nun in the normal form and then the end form at the beginning and the end. And it's also a palindrome. You can read it backwards and forwards, Nissan. It hints at many levels to some continuity, some sort of cycle, but also this dynamic of going through the sea of reeds, which is, of course, totally incorrectly translated as a Red Sea. We are talking in Torah about Yam Suf, but the beauty about Hebrew is that you can read Yam Suf as Yam Sof, which means also the time of the end, or the sea of the end, on the end of time, or also infinity, different paradigm. Yeah. So the beauty of also about this month of Nisan is that, first of all the story of redemption or getting out of Egypt starts with the transformation of the staff of the Moshe, which is still in Midian desert, and Hashem tells him, take the staff and throw it into the ground, and then it changes into the serpent. So there's this dynamics. It starts with the serpent. Then we have all cycle year of 10 plagues, which is symbolized by the Samech, the Uroboros, and then we have end of the Nisan, or culmination of the Nisan is exactly happening in couple of days, because it's happened It happened on not the 15th of Nisan, but a couple of days later. The people of Israel approached to the sea of this infinity, and they had to cross it. So how did they cross it? How the water split? When Moshe actually raised his staff, and staff is this nun sofit, this end, the transformation of the serpent into staff again. And what is also even more beautiful there, what is the hint, is that at the beginning, this raising of the staff, according to Midrash, didn't help. There had to be action of one person that actually tried. Okay, I enter. He said to himself, "I enter into the sea, and we'll see what will happen." And actually, by entering to the sea started to split. And the name of this person was called was Nachshon, Nachshon of the tribe of Yehuda. What means Nachshon? The small serpent. So the serpent is present in all the Nissan stuff here and there. And what also happens at the very end of this transfer, the whole transfer of through the split waters of people of Israel also can be treated as a movement of the serpent through again the birth channel, the narrow channel through which only they can go through and be beyond any kind of let's say oppression of the history, that history devours each civilization. We have no contact with the ancient Egypt, we have no contact with the ancient Rome, Mesopotamia, but Hebrews, they are those who are beyond. And actually their name, the name Hebrew means those who are passing through. They passing through the time limitations. They're some sort of life form on the people scale that is having special feature that is not restrained by the history. And at the end, Moshe again pulls out his staff, so it is Nun Sofit, and the waters come back. The waters of time, they devour Egypt. And as we know, since that time, more or less, the Egyptian civilization is at decline and completely disappears. I mean, in the ancient form, around 2,000 years ago. And we also spoke about Ness. Okay, you have those things. A little bit, this is repetition to what we had here, but okay, let's change the. I hope that this is fine, Paula, that we had this all to the exam. Yeah, but I really invite to the recording that was sent to you. If you want, I can send it to you again.
I have it. I have it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, but I understand. It's also nice sometimes just to. I hope for you, Francesco, it was beneficial that we had this a little bit. It's happening right now. That's what is beautiful. It's happening. We are exactly in the month of Nisan. Each year there is repetition and repetition of the topics. Okay, just a second. I have to click something. Okay, so after the break, dracunculiasis. So dracunculiasis is this disease, parasite disease that it's called Guinea-worm disease. It was actually known in the ancient times in all Mediterranean, at least. We know that there was. Okay, I just didn't cut something about the description. We know that it was pretty much affecting the populations all across the places when it could have emerged. Just a second, I will just put it on a whole mode. Right, so it's better. Now it's almost extinct. I think a couple of years ago they said yes, we finally conquered. There was no any kind of case of dracunculiasis, but still there are like 10 or 20 cases per year. It's mainly because of the lack of hygiene in some places. But I just want to speak about it because it has something to do with explanation of the symbols of Nehushtan, in my opinion, and also rod of Asclepios. And also this disease symbolizes the life cycle itself. Why? Because as you can see on the right side, the larva enters through the mouth. And this is what is peculiar about this disease. This worm travels 1 year, more or less 1 year, through the body of a human. And it descends without any symptoms. It doesn't attack any internal organs. It just descends. Of course, gets some nutrition, but doesn't make any inflammation. Nothing happens, and then descends after 1 year, which also is a little bit creepy. That such a worm can actually travel through the human body, and then goes to the feet, and then from the feet starts the blister in order to actually propagate. Why? It's amazing, evolutionary speaking, because once the blister is there, the human wants to elevate from the pain a bit, so put it in the cool water, and then once in the cool water, the release of the larvae as into the water, and people drink this water again and again, and the contamination spreads. For me, you remember just a couple of minutes ago we spoke about this figure of the thread and the beads, that if we transfer this figure to this Draculiasis worm, it is as if he's going through the body of a man, as if he is a part of the thread, and a man is a bead. It's just one. I would say koralik, in Polish and Russian. It's just he uses the body just to go through. Actually, it doesn't kill so much. Of course, people are dying a little bit of this disease, because sometimes, not a little bit dying, it's just bad expression. Sometimes this wound is really. I will show you how does it look like. It look not so nasty, and this is how it looks. This worm goes out, and the blister can get the inflammation, and sometimes there is amputation of the feet, but it's not because of the worm. The point is, the worm just gets out. But for our discourse, what is important here is how it is being treated, and there is no any treatments for the thousands of years. And we know those description of this disease already 2000 more years ago. There is no any other treatment, like it's the same. There is no possibility, as far as I know, to actually put on any antibiotic or anything else, or any anti-parasite specific, because then this worm calciates, becomes like a calcium, and it's actually causing much bigger problem than when we will let this worm to go out. And how the going out is actually the part in the lower part of our presentation, the treatment. There is no drug or vaccine for the disease, and treatment involves cleaning the wound in order not to have a bacterial or any other inflammation. And this is the key. And slowly extracting the worm over several days or weeks by wrapping it around the stick. So there is this stick, and the worm is being wrapped. The wound is being cleaned, disinfected, but the worm is really very resilient to any kind of disinfection. And if you try to kill him, the rest of the body will stay, decalciate, and there is actually much bigger problems. So people who are treated with that, they just, for usually 2 weeks, they just gradually every day roll on the stick of, like a match or stick of wood. So it's not my concept that this, it's not my idea, my finding, so to speak, that Asclepius' rod is stemming from this treatment method. But what I was actually asking myself, which I haven't found in the literature, is always puzzling me whenever I am troubled by something that others are just, okay, the explanation is there. Most probably the symbol evolved from the treatment of this very specific worm disease. But it's not the case. Why you want to give such a prominence, such a meaning to a treatment of one of the many diseases? It's just one of the parasite diseases, to give it an emblem of life and a healing and the life supporting activities of all the doctors, all the medical systems of all the in our culture and beyond our culture, and now it's just spread across. And this symbol has, of course, everything to do with Nehushtan, the one we also spoke today, 1 week ago, I guess. So what I want to claim here is that this method was so important for the medicine people around the cult of Asclepius, or around this all groups of healers, because they saw, in my opinion, they saw in this symbol the symbol of the serpent that goes through all the life. That the disease itself is a symbol, works as a symbol for understanding that we are just ephemerides. We are just appearing and disappearing in a cycle of relatively short cycle of times, generation after generation. But what is actually still constantly alive, this is the worm. The worm comes back, yeah? He's just passing through, traveling through our body, and he goes somewhere else again. And this worm is a symbol of the bigger worm, this life serpent within whole bios. And that I haven't found, honestly, in up till now literature. And this is my proposal. This is my proposal how to interpret why it gave such a prominence. Because otherwise, why you don't give the it was not lethal sickness so much. It was not. It was quite spread back then, but it was not something that people were dying. So I would think you can make a symbol of anything else that was much more help to cure for much more drastic diseases, to give it a symbol of pharmacy. No, actually, they saw it. They saw the secret of life, or, in my opinion, a symbolization of that there is life beyond our ephemerical life. In short, if I just make myself clear. So this worm traveling through the body of man is like life forms, generation after generation, that are traveling through the body of the serpent. On the other way around, we are just those beads in the thread of the serpent. So how is it related to the Sod ha-Nachash and our material? There is this beautiful mention in a Tehillim, in a Psalm 22, which, of course, in the Jewish and Judeo-Christian and Christian literature, this psalm is having a huge prominence because, for example, the statement, there is a Christian Easter, a Catholic Easter right now also, and there is the statement, Keli Keli Lama Sabachthani, which according to the Christian belief, this is the last words that Jesus said on the cross. So again, also this symbol of Nehushtan is being not metaphorized, but connected to the cross, and the copper serpent that heals is also related to the Jesus. I am outside of this topic for many reasons. I just say let's leave it to the researchers who are into the Judeo-Christian material. For me, it's much more important to get into the Jewish sources, and also I restrain myself mostly to the Kabbalistic topic. I'm not saying it's not interesting; it's interesting, but let others do this interpretation. For me, in a Tehillim 22, in the Psalm 22, what is important is the statement, "I am a worm, not a man." This is how this messianic being, messianic creature, Mashiach, is speaking about himself. I am the worm and not a man. And we remember that Mashiach is, according to Gematria, Nachash. So, as if there is some logical relationship between the two of them, as if there is some sort of influence of one on another. And let me just read the conclusion I had. This is part of this text, the preface to the text that I provided with the English translation. So I claim the key ideas present in this treatise. However, the serpent, I read from this, however, the serpent as such, when occupying the appropriate place, constitute the protective force for the life itself, or is life itself. One can be therefore tempted to state that in the time of Mashiach, Hashem would encircle the inside of the palace of this primordial cell again by means of the serpent's body. So again, the restoration of the serpent will be to its proper place by using the life component or the life itself to again build a protective wall around Gan Eden and putting again unified one cell into one immortal form, which would mean that there would be no abundance of life. There would be only one cell remaining. It actually has a scary connotations if you look at this, because it means that there is probably some sort of major extinction being hinted at in this statement. But it's major extinction of the plurality of life being hinted at, but not of the consciousnesses, because there is this idea of resurrection, revival of the dead, that the consciousness, all the consciousness of all the generation, they will come back, but the cell will be one, the life form will be one, but the consciousness will be vast and plural. Also, like in the vision of the ocean of Lamb's Solaris. The palace, by means of the serpent's body, protecting its inner space, which is Gan Eden, from the consequences of the breach originally performed by the same serpent. So originally the serpent is making the breach, but at the end of the days, the body of the serpent will actually fill that gap and will serve as a protector from the breach. In other words, Mashiach will repair the negative effects of serpent's act with the help of the serpent himself, which I think this is the best way to show this logic connection between Mashiach and serpent. And then when I jump to this conclusion to some connection with the Tehillim 22, which is I will refer shortly to the hint on the right side of the slide. This conclusion naturally triggers hermeneutical attention towards the messianic statement present in the Tehillim in Psalm 22, where Mashiach reveals his relationship to Nachash in a straightforward pun. Mashiach speaks about himself. I am a worm, not a man. So I am the serpent. I am the movement of life. I am here, the same troubled. I am here in pain in every dying and born cell, in every dying and born organism that has to be eaten or have to eat something else. All this cruelty in nature. I am here all the time within the history, and I am within this worm. I am not a man, but at the same time, he is the man because when the time of transformations go backwards, he becomes also a man. Not even a man, he's also being said to be the Hashem himself, which is quite paradoxical, but not if you take it in totality. That Hashem in the beginning of our story, he is the rider of the serpent. Serpent is serving him. The life protector or the life itself is connected to Hashem directly. Only later, after the breach, the Samael, the Samkal, the poisonous, so to speak, God, poisonous angel, or venomous rather. We're speaking about venom, not the poison. Venomous angel or venomous might is taking over, which represents the older gods, so to speak, other Elohim. And I also repeat, there is one interpretation that I would like to follow, that all other gods, all other Elohim are actually this state of some sort of schizophrenic state of forgetfulness about own's unity of Yudke Vavke when he is in the immanent state within this creation. But that's just metaphysical interpretation based on Goldberg and Bach, and I again refer to the meeting number 3 from our sessions. So Hashem's presence in the worm and his identity is deeply, deeply rooted there in the in the whole drama of life that is after the fall, the life is still continuing because there is a Hashem inside of every cell. There is this life spark, life instigator, life soul, even in very basic cellular one cell organisms, not to mention the more complicated. And all Torah is being also metaphorized as the Sefer Milchamot Hashem, the book of the wars of Hashem, of Yud Kevavke. And there is this statement, apparently also not a coincidence, is also appearing during the transfer through the Sea of Reeds. There is the Song of the Sea. It's Shirat Hayam, it's called. And the content of this Song of the Sea has one statement which says, Hashem ish milchama, Hashem shmo. The Hashem is the man of war, milchama, and his name is Hashem. It's a little bit palindromic, and actually I also made a paper about this very statement because it has very nice properties. I can send it to you later if you want. But the concept here is that on the right side also you see that again this fragment from Yeshayahu is being quoted from different place, that when all the people will also be rebellious, there will be these wars at the end, and the life forms will be still thinking that they are unique and they are separate, but they are alive, not they are just ephemerides. There is this puzzling statement in Yeshayahu when he says, "For their worm shall not die." There, and this is the same statement Tola'at, which is here Tola'ah in Tehillim, but here is Tola'at, Tola'atam lo tamut. Their worm will not die, which is a very puzzling statement, if not connected to this concept, in my opinion, that the life as a life will stay in this metaphor of a worm. And worm, he is serving like a serpent, another name. That's basically what I would like to propose. Of course, there is this whole concept that this is a very special worm. It's called Tolat Sheni. It has this crimson colorant, and there are many ideas about it. But this is another property that I would like to maybe skip for a moment and a little bit speak about Nehushtan at the very end. We have this Nehushtan, which also we already spoke about it 2 weeks ago, exactly in this portion of this presentation that I showed you a little bit of excerpt. This Nehushtan is also a very interesting figure because this is this copper serpent that looking at him would save, just looking at him would save from death. In other fiery serpents, like the poisonous, the venomous serpents would kill, but if someone was still looking at this very serpent, this is a figure on the Mount Nebo in Jordan. So this is just a current imagination how it look. But the point was, it's very puzzling to, especially to those who are claiming lack of idolatries or any kind of cultic reference to the serpents, because even in the times of the kings, there was this copper serpent still included into the cultic objects within the Beit Hamikdash, within the temple. So there was not only the Ark of Covenant, the Aron HaKodesh, Aron HaBrit, but also this serpent was there. And the point is, it was probably, most probably we can assume it was used for some therapeutic ritual purposes, but gradually it started to be an idol and a cult object in itself. So the king Hiskiyahu is being described. He removed this and destroyed and removed this figure from the temple. So there is this connection among the researchers. There's this concept that this, like serpent around the pole, which paradoxically is also called Nes. Nes in Hebrew, like Nisan, is also being interpreted as the month of the miracle, because it can mean both. The word Nes means a pole, like standing standard, like something like a manifestation, but also it is translated as a miracle. So Nisan is the month also that contains a word Nes inside of it. Another thing that I just failed to mention, I'm sorry, half an hour ago. So Rod of Asclepius and Nehushtan. How? So that's my concept here being summarized. I'm sorry for nastiness. I just wanted to show you how it looks like, just this disease curing. So about King Chizkiyahu, he said that he abolished the shrines, smashed the pillars, and cut down the sacred posts, and he also broke the pieces the bronze serpent that Moshe made. For that time, the Israelites had been offering sacrifice to it, and it was called Nehushtan. I think this is a little bit far-fetched later exposure, because the problem was, again, reference. If it served some cultic healing rituals, that would be fine. But if it became the cult object by itself, well, that was the reason to be removed. But let's just look a little bit, decompose the name Nehushtan. It has the word, of course, Nachash, but there is also this letter Tav, and I again refer here a little bit to what we spoke about 2 weeks ago. Tav is the sign of the life. Death is just end. This is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It's also paleographically related also to the word, to the figure of X, or in kind of actually cross. So in Judeo-Christian symbolics, it has a lot of potential. Why this Nachash and Nehushtan is connected, but also it's the Nun Sofit, the end of the supremacy of the serpents that are bringing death and also changing into the stuff. This is this pole. This is this vertical figure, like the super stuff that on which there is this copper serpent. And as we remember, Nechoshet is also in Hebrew contain the word for copper is containing the word of Nachash, and also this Tav at the end. Like the end of the supremacy of Nachash is Nechoshet and Nehushtan, the one that through the copper properties of Nechoshet is put on the pole. So Hebrew is always precise about those symbolics, and one has to read it also through the level of the paleography of how the letters actually work as the symbols of their own. So this procedure of Dracunculiasis treatment, it made a career as a symbol of Rod of Asclepius, because those medicine people who are doing this procedure, they noticed that it is a little, to some extent, representing also the whole concept of life that is beyond the ephemerical lives in the organisms. And the sign of the staff is indicating how to cure kind of life from be taken away from the life and death cycle, which is of course the property of the end of times. This is going to happen according to this belief at the end of times. Like the total reparation of the serpent, not just those diseases. Okay, I hope that it was not just a bit far-fetched. It follows some argument, and I would like to thank you for today. I will a little bit earlier, but if you would like to comment or have some questions, I'm here for you. And yeah, strongly advise, as a complementary, this from 2 weeks ago, this session about Nehushtan, and from different perspective, from the prophetic perspective. And it was 2 weeks ago. Oh, sorry, there is a.
Yeah, I just commented quickly after our class 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the caves and of course the serpent. There was
Yeah.
this news that they found tons of new species of serpents in a cave in Cambodia. So I thought it was just interesting that there are always new
Yeah,
stuff here.
I will read about it. Yeah, in case there are many different things happening, I think that really, you know what I really would like to visit this moon of Jupiter, Europa, because most probably it was actually one science fiction movie about it, that there is this life. Most probably there is another form of life there, and it's such a waste that we don't send some probes there, because it looks like this moon really has the hot core. There is gravity now. There is a water. There is ice cover. If there is life in our solar system, it has to be there, and it would have been really amazing to find out. Yeah, it just we are at such a bare beginning of the getting out of our planetary perspective. It's so fresh, and it's just so fascinating. The topic of life is really, really getting out of its trap of not interpreting it in itself in a proper form. And I just believe this is just the beginning, but yeah. I have a lifespan of more or less maybe maximum 50 years. So someone else will have to continue. But this is the legacy what we do, this discussion. This is what we started, Francesca, at the very beginning. Paula, you just connected later. We spoke about how important it is just to actually to do things like we are doing, this sharing. Because after us, someone will be inspired by our work, and someone else will be inspired by the work. It's about the tradition, like transferring further and further, and getting better with the knowledge. And it's not us, as in Pirkei Avot, in the treatise from Talmud, is being said. We have to do diligently the work, but it's not us to finish it. It's fine. We will just pass it forward, but it's good to do it. It's good to participate, because it is. We just do one milestone, but it's as important as the totality of the work. Okay, but thank you for sending this link. So next week we have a lot of pictures, a lot of travels through the different cultures and fascinating stories. I want to do some Sumerian stuff, some, of course, Mesopotamia later, Mesopotamia, Sumer, of course, Egypt, Mesoamerica a bit, of course, the Hindu material, Egypt extensively, definitely, Hebrew one, but we will start exactly from Botswana, 80,000 years ago, more or less. The first known 99% people are sure it was a cultic usage of the serpent figure. I mean, 80,000 years ago, people were already feeling that something is about this symbol important, and they were doing quite fascinating rituals around it. Yeah. So we'll start with Botswana, Tsodilo caves, and the serpent head. It's a Sheila Coulson discovery from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yeah. So when I was starting my studies at the university, we still didn't know about it. Only the local people knew about it. So it's moving forward. Okay. Thank you. If you don't have any comments right now, you can always reach me by WhatsApp or offline on the email. And I wish you a great time of Nissan still. And if you also follow some holidays, I don't know if you have holidays or not holidays. I wish you good rest and all the best. We're in touch.
Also.
Thank you,
Hag
Paul.
Sameach. Hag Sameach. Kol Tov. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Bye.